Welcome everybody to Formula 1 2021. We have made it. The season is finally here with today's winter testing day number 1 in Bahrain, marking the first official session of the 2021 season. In today's video, we'll be going through all of your times, all of your data, all of your laps, all of the big stories in today's first day of winter testing. We're going to be doing this every single day for testing only 3 days this year instead of the usual 8 last year. It was 6, so we're chopping that dead in half. 3 days of intense testing, meaning any sort of reliability issue, any kind of off-track excursion, crash, whatever, is going to have huge consequences for that driver and that team over the course of this weekend. So lots of pressure on the boys and girls in Formula 1 this weekend. And finally, before we jump into our times, if you are new and you want to keep up to date with all Formula 1 2021 news, reviews, podcasts, all that good stuff, all you've got to do is drop that subscribe button down below, and if you're a real legend, hit that notification bell. But without further ado, let's take a look at some times. Let's try and dissect the data from today's session. But what you always need to remember is whenever we're talking about winter testing, whenever we're talking about practice in general in Formula 1, is take all of the times with a pinch of salt. None of the teams are running low fuel loads with the best tyres, the best setup, and are using a car that can go as quick as possible. From our perspectives, we've got no idea if the team is going for some quick short runs or if they're going for a race long run 60 lap session. It's all completely random, completely up in the air. From our point of view, only the teams themselves will know just how good their testing is going. So you might wonder, well, why are we looking at the times? Well, the big data is going to be in the tyre compounds each driver used, but the metric that is the most crucial and the most important when looking at just how well teams are doing in a winter testing period is laps completed. This is the best metric in determining just how reliable that car is. And if a driver, for whatever reason, isn't completing many laps, you know something's wrong. And already so far in testing, things haven't quite gone to plan for all our teams and drivers. But as you've seen up on your screen for the last few seconds, Max Verstappen for Red Bull Racing, our most recent winner in Formula 1, topped the timesheet with a 1:30.6 in the afternoon session. 138 laps completed for Max, the most of any driver over the course of the first day, with Esteban Ocon the only other driver to reach over 100 laps in our first testing session. It was Lando Norris in second place, just 2 tenths away from the Red Bull driver, both on the C3 tyres, but C4 tyres and 4 tenths away for Alpine's Esteban Ocon. Lance Stroll came in with a late lap to finish 4th overall in the timings. He was on the T tyre as it's seen on the graphics. You'll see this a couple of times over the course of this weekend. This is the prototype tyre, but it's very similar to the C3 tyre. It's basically a C3.5 if you want to call it that, somewhere between C3 and C4. It was Carlos Sainz in his brand new Ferrari colours in P5 with Antonio Giovinazzi P6, both of them 1.2 seconds off the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Daniel Ricciardo, who topped the timesheet in the morning session, was P7 with the 2 AlphaTauris, Gasly 8th, and our first rookie Yuki Tsunoda P9 with our reigning 7-time Formula 1 world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton in P10. Your bottom half of drivers, and I'm not really going to show this screen too often today, but in 11th place was Charles Leclerc, who ran into troubles late on in the morning session. We'll talk about that in a moment's time. Kimi Raikkonen was P12, Sebastian Vettel, his debut for Aston Martin 13th. Roy Nissany was the only driver for Williams today, full day for him. Mazepin 15th, Schumacher really struggled with getting in laps this morning thanks to a hydraulic issue, was P16, and Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes 17th place, 6 laps on the board, the lowest of anyone in day 1. Mercedes the lowest of any team, 6th for Valtteri, 42 for Lewis Hamilton. Work to be done for the reigning world champions. And as we move over to our debrief, whilst it was Red Bull at the top of this timesheet and taking all the headlines from today, Mercedes is where I want to start, because starting off a season with a gearbox issue in Valtteri Bottas' car this morning, restricting them to just 6 laps of running, is something we're really not used to in modern Formula 1 winter testing. over the last few years, what we have seen is Mercedes show up to testing. Not only is the car perfect, not only have they got some kind of brand new alien technology strapped into that car to make them another second quicker than the rest of the field, we are also used to them pumping in hundreds and hundreds of laps. And for the last however many years, they have been right at the top of most laps completed over the course of winter testing. So to start off in this manner, for a team that we all know are so reliable, is going to leave a lot of question marks. Now, does this mean Mercedes are going to be struggling all season with reliability? Definitely not. Lewis Hamilton, in the same car Valtteri used in the morning, was out in the afternoon. 42 laps isn't a lot, but when you consider the amount of data a team like Mercedes has available on them now, back at the factory, and what they've been able to collect over the last few years, especially at a circuit we only visited 3 months ago, albeit in very different conditions, 42 laps, I wouldn't get too worried, Mercedes fans. Of course, there's room for improvement, and any team, even Mercedes, will have to learn over this winter testing period, but it's never a bad thing having issues during winter testing, because it instantly highlights the biggest area that needs to be improved. They can do that straight away, and it might be something so minor, but there's work to be done. Mercedes are not invincible like we sometimes think in Formula 1. And if that's disappointed you, the team have also bought plenty of upgrades to their car this weekend, showing off a brand new floor, which looks very detailed, very intricate, which in a season where the floor is supposed to be super simple, is very sneaky from the Mercedes team. Will there be some kind of protest or riot? I'm looking at you, Red Bull guys. Potentially. But once again, Mercedes proving they've always got a trick up their sleeve. And in a season where the majority of teams at one point or another will start to focus on 2022 earlier than they would in any other year, the development of next year's car, Mercedes still proving they're ready to innovate. They are ready to take the fight to everybody else in 2021. But that gearbox issue this morning, a slight worry, especially if you're Valtteri Bottas, who only did 6 laps. But overall, from a team perspective, they will be just fine. And on the note of Lewis Hamilton, and in particular the afternoon session, something we certainly weren't expecting heading into this weekend was a sandstorm. Something which I'm sure many of the teams didn't predict either. Was this something that was red flagged? No. Every team, every driver was told to get on with it. And what we were treated to was some quite abstract images. I will try my best to throw up some of the ones the teams have provided me with from today's session. But as a result of this sandstorm, driving conditions became appalling, with Lewis Hamilton in particular really struggling with his new Mercedes, not only to keep it on track, but at times keep it in a straight line. No spins for the world champion like we did see for Max Verstappen in the morning session, Nikita Mazepin in the afternoon, also Carlos Sainz had a spinella in the afternoon. But to cut them all a little bit of slack, that cannot have been any fun driving in those conditions. The car themselves must have been inhaling so much sand. The engineers are going to have a nightmare tonight, removing all of that from the air ducts and cleaning down those vehicles. But something different to start off today's testing session. I'm going to leave that there. And the plan is, over the course of this weekend, is try and focus on a different team each day. Today it was Mercedes and also a sandstorm, but tomorrow we will try and look at different ones depending on what's going on each particular day. Initial thoughts from day number 1. Red Bull are looking good. That midfield fight looks as close as ever. Don't panic about Mercedes. And with Ferrari running into troubles at the end of the morning session, where do they fit in on the 2021 grid? More will be discovered in tomorrow's session when we finally get a little bit more representative data, when there isn't 10 ton of sand swirling its way around the circuit. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow evening to run through all of that. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one.